Most of you will know Mr. Beck. Morten Beck is head of the Danish Energy Agency. He's been that since January last year. He's been with the Ministry of Climate, Energy and Building since November 2007, at one point also serving as head of the minister's private office. That must have been some other minister. Also, as you will notice, Mr. Beck is a former diplomat based in Washington for a number of years for our government, and he is by training a political scientist. We have been looking forward to this, if you were in doubt. Thank you very much for being here. It's all yours, and afterwards I will invite Mr. Beck over here, and we will all have time for a discussion with Mr. Beck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. And thank you to Oil and Gas Denmark for the opportunity to address this important and distinguished audience again this year, for the second time in a row. This time as a stand-in, of course, for the minister who's traveling, as has been stated, with Her Majesty the Queen in Indonesia. So that is not an opportunity that you pass up as minister. And so with regret, Lars Christian Lilleholt has asked me to convey his best wishes for another successful summit. Given this opportunity, there are three messages that I would like to leave you with today. First, and this, of course, should not be news to this audience, we need to expand recovery, and we need to increase the recovery rate in the Danish part of the North Sea. And we have, as has already been alluded to over the past year, taken a tremendous step to identify key barriers for that in our common strategy work. I want to thank you all for the dedicated and good cooperation on this important matter among all stakeholders, and I look very much forward to be able to present the first conclusions of this very soon. Second, and closely linked to the strategy work, we need to huddle up if we are to achieve the first. Cooperation is probably the #1 driver if we are to succeed in reaching marginal fields and increase production. And finally, my third message, the 7th licensing round has taken much longer than expected, much too long. My sincere apologies for that. It's very regrettable. But the new offshore directives provisions have led to an increased focus on financial capacity and guarantees. And I want to assure you today that we are doing all that we can. All hands are on deck to get the last issues resolved so that your plans for further exploration can be carried out. Now, why is all of this so important to our government and to the Energy Agency? Simple question, simple answer. For decades, Denmark has been dedicated to an energy transition that was initially intended to limit our dependency on imports of oil from the Middle East. Today, this transition has turned green, but it retains its initial rationale of supply security. And this government has reinforced the focus on economic sustainability. But what seems to have fallen out of the picture, at least slightly, is the immense contribution of our national oil and gas production to this transition. Not only in energy security terms, but certainly also in fiscal terms. From the beginning of oil production in 1972 and up to now, almost 4 billion barrels of oil and gas have been produced. The aggregated value of Danish oil and gas production since 1972 amounts to about 1 trillion Danish kroner, and the production has generated tax revenues of around 400 billion Danish kroner, which has contributed to financing Danish public expenditure and welfare. These figures may seem insignificant on a global scale, but they certainly matter here at home. In 2013 alone, the state received some 22 billion Danish kroner in direct taxes from oil and gas production, which corresponds to the cost of half a great-built bridge, or 3 times the annual subsidies for renewable energy. Almost 200 billion Danish kroner have been invested in the established infrastructure since 1972, and our economic forecast shows a level of investment of some 10 billion Danish kroner a year in the years to come. At this very moment, significant development activities are taking place, new fields are coming online in the coming years, and new operators will begin to contribute. It's a great advantage for Denmark to have an energy supply base that has several elements, including both domestic production of oil and gas and an increased contribution from wind, biomass, and solar energy. So the government's commitment to sustain this diversity is strong, as it reduces our dependency on single sources of energy and limits our import vulnerability while contributing to growth and job creation. And so, our dedication to ensuring the right regulation and framework conditions remain very high. The oil fields in the Danish North Sea continue to contain a lot of oil, but it's no secret that they are difficult to produce. Today, we only expect to produce approximately 26% of the known oil in the subsoil. This leaves us with a great potential for increased oil recovery. An increase of just 1 percentage point could add another 20 million cubic meters of oil production, corresponding to 2 years of our present production. Historically, we, or rather you, have successfully implemented new technology to get more oil out of the tight chalk reserves. In the early 19s, the recovery was expected to be just 14%. The extensive use of horizontal wells and water injection has increased this recovery to the present-day level. We've moved up the mountain, and the path continues ahead. More research is needed to foster new ideas and develop new ways to increase our oil recovery. Last year, your industry started the establishment of a new institute, the Danish Hydrocarbon Research and Technology Center at DTU. Research and education is fundamental to continuing the industry's record of constant development of new and improved technologies. Skills and technology is needed for the recovery of our known resources and for continued successful exploration in a mature oil province like the North Sea. But research will not do it alone. And so, to capture all aspects of declining production, aging infrastructure, exploration opportunities and challenges for suppliers and services industries, in close cooperation with Oil and Gas Denmark, we are in the midst of finalizing the national strategy for the future of the Danish oil and gas production. I expect this strategy to be finalized this fall. Now, these expectations don't come lightly at these times. Your contribution to this work has been rock solid and very much appreciated, and has laid the foundation for continued close cooperation with Oil and Gas Denmark. Thank you for that. Now, turning to the 7th licensing round, the interest has been significant. All participants have presented exciting targets for exploration activities in the years to come, and some have presented plans that can lead to development of discoveries that were given up in earlier licenses. We look forward to following the activities planned by the various licensing groups and seeing the results in terms of new discoveries and future production. Again, finalizing this round is at the very top of our agenda. Rest assured of that. I know that although our strategy work in the 7th licensing round is high on your agenda, the current oil price is taking center stage right now. The last year has been unkind to this industry, but I'm confident that your proven ability to adapt to circumstances will take you through these times of trouble and let you once again concentrate on dealing with the challenges created by difficult reservoirs and authorities. As I said initially, enhanced cooperation between all of us is essential for the further development of the Danish North Sea. Our common work on the strategy for the future oil and gas production is a good example of how we can progress on important issues together. cooperation between operators and companies involved, is important for an efficient development and use of our infrastructure. This is particularly important in the mature Danish part of the North Sea. Cooperation in order to attain an optimal use of the existing and new infrastructure is necessary in order to exploit the remaining more marginal fields. Cooperation can reduce costs and contribute to the value created for you and us. I therefore urge you to enter into third-party agreements so that existing and new infrastructure will be available for others within a reasonable time frame and at a reasonable price. Cooperation between projects can create the conditions for economies of scale. Cooperation can make small projects fly and extend the economic lifetime of our infrastructure. Now, Oil and Gas Denmark is all about cooperation and unity, and this event in essence distills this message. And cooperation between the North Sea countries is equally important. We are all more or less working within the same overall regulatory framework, and I'm therefore also very pleased to see that Bente Nyland and Michael Tolan have made time to be with us today. We are greatly appreciating the cooperation that we have continually with Norway and the United Kingdom. The past year, as I said, has been unkind, but your ingenuity and ability to adapt to circumstances has taken you through dire straits before, and I'm confident that this will happen again. I wish you a productive afternoon and Godspeed out of the current market situation. Thank you very much.